Hi, my name is Noah Gift, and I'm the founder of Pragmatic AI Labs. And I wanted to share the origin story of how I got here. I've been at this for about 8 years now, but before that, I spent a lot of time in the university system, in private industry. Even as a kid, I grew up in the Hollywood area and worked in TV and film as part of a family business. So there's a lot to cover. And so, in order to do that, I'm going to share a quick diagram here that should, really get us to an overview of some of the things that I'm doing with Pragmatic AI Labs. So you can see that there's three areas that make us unique. So the first one is the university system. I've had a lot of experience with the university system. I also have a lot of experience with content, the top content companies in the world. I also have a lot of experience in industry, so doing DevOps, games, film, etc. So I'm going to talk about that stuff in a second, but first let's get into the origin story. So when I was a kid, around, let's say, 10, 11 years old, I first started working in TV because my family had a business where we were doing video shoots and going to locations in Hollywood, doing commercials. And so that's when I learned to be an editor. I learned about camera work, I learned about audio. And so I took some of those skills later and worked as an editor at ABC Network News when I was a teenager, and I was able to edit live television, national television, and I would patch in things into a national feed. I did a little bit of work during the O.J. Simpson's trial, and so that was a really good experience to get, essentially like a real world professional job as a teenager. And I was also offered a full time job at 18 by ABC, and I turned them down because I wanted to go to college. It's a toss up whether my career would have been a very different career if I would have accepted that. But I'm in the place I'm in now because I didn't do that. Now, later I went to college. I worked at Caltech for a while. And then when I was at Caltech, I learned a lot about IT in the university system, but also about programming. Met a lot of very smart professors, some of the smartest people in AI actually at the time. This was in 2000 when it was still the kind of the dead zone for AI. They call it the AI winter. And then after that, I took all those skills and I went back into the film industry and the TV industry. First, I worked for live television for a bit and worked on, taking equipment in live TV to reality TV sites like Big Brother, swapping them out. And then later I went back into the film area and I worked at Disney Feature Animation on the first 3D animated film. In fact, I actually was able to work in the audience preview studio inside the Burbank building with the hat where Michael Eisner was sitting behind me. So it was pretty stressful, and I'm patching in different things. And then I took all that experience and worked at different places like Sony ImageWorks. I worked on Spider-Man and Chronicles of Narnia and a lot of these really cool, visual effects films. And then I later worked at Turner Studios. I worked at Weta Digital on the movie Avatar. And then later I worked at some film studios in the Bay Area. So that whole experience, though, was really, if I had to summarize it, was about data engineering, about automation, about network systems. And then later I took that experience and turned it into the startup industry and worked at a bunch of startups and eventually ran a startup at one point. And I learned a lot about, creating revenue, creating users, etc. Now, when that was done, then I decided that I wanted to do consulting, and a former professor reached out to me and asked if I wanted to do a little bit of teaching with machine learning. So that's essentially the origin story of how I got the skills to get to the next phase over the next 8 years to get to where I'm at now. So let's talk a little bit for a second about this green quadrant here, or this green circle in the Venn diagram where we talk about the university system. So I've been teaching for UC Davis in the Graduate School of Management, also their data science program, for close to 8 years. I've taught at UC Berkeley as well. I've taught in their graduate data science program. I've taught at UNC in their graduate data science program. I've taught at Northwestern in their graduate data science program. And I've taught at Duke in their graduate data science program. And I still teach at Duke in their graduate data science program. And I've also taught in their AI program as well. So I've got a lot of experience in thinking through, what does one university do pretty well? What does another one do pretty well? Kind of taking all those things and finding the things that are good and bad about universities. So I would say the pros for the university system is that they have the top researchers in the world. So, I mean, no question about it. They're some of the smartest people in the world. Now, the cons are that they're very slow. I would say in the university system, one day in industry is about a year in a university. Things just take forever. Also, there's a lot of top heavy and administrative overhead where there's hierarchy and you have to ask for people's permission, et cetera, et cetera. Things are linear as well. So, you're done with the degree. That's it. Goodbye. What do you do next if you want to learn more stuff? I mean, are you supposed to get 2 masters or 3 masters or 5 masters? I mean, I personally have 2 master's degrees. Also expensive. It's very expensive if your employer doesn't pay for it. Now, if your employer does, that's great. That's probably one of the best ways to optimize for cost. Now, let's talk a little bit about content. So at the same time, I think it's been close to 20 years I've been an author. I've written 4 books for O'Reilly. I've worked for Udacity, creating, cutting edge machine learning programs for them. I have 40 courses on edX, 40 courses on Coursera. I've written, I think, close to 10 books or 10 books. Also done a bunch of live trainings for Pearson, done courses for Pearson, wrote a book for Pearson. So I have a pretty good feel for what works well. And I think the content companies often have the best content because they can move so fast, right? University system, they do something that takes a year, where in industry you can do it in a day. But on the flip side, a lot of the content companies don't have any idea about how university system works. Like, they've never worked in the university system. Now, there's some, I would say maybe 1% of the people that are working in the content industry have some university experience, but often not at the same time, right? They're disjointed. So I do think that that's a pretty big opportunity, just combining the university and the content and getting the best of both worlds, which is what I'm doing with Pragmatic AI Labs. But even further, though, if we go into industry, again, I've worked with DevOps, CTO, startups, games, films, big data, etc. Is that the real world experience trumps everything, right? Because you're actually doing the thing that people want to do in the future. So the person that's the expert, if they tell you exactly what they're doing, there's no better way to learn it, right, than the expert. Now, on the flip side, though, you do need theory, and that's where there's a lot of weakness, is that maybe if you're an industry expert, you don't have the theory in teaching, the pedagogy. You don't have the theory, that you don't even know how to explain what it is that you're doing. So that's really what I think is the big difference with what we're doing with Pragmatic AI Labs, is that we can combine the best of all of these things. And I would say we have Tina, which is, there is no alternative. I don't know of anything that is exactly combining all 3 of these things together. And that's why I'm so excited about Pragmatic AI Labs. And so let me talk a little bit about some of the stuff that we're doing and why it's actually so exciting. So I would say probably one of the more exciting things that we're doing is we're working with edX right now, and we have 40 courses on edX, which is equivalent to a lot of the work I've done in these top elite graduate programs. So we have basically 2 master's degrees worth of material available on edX. And in fact, I can actually share that. If I go to edX here, we go to School AI. So it's edX.org, School AI. And if I go and I change this, and let's go ahead and share out the edX screen here so I can show it, that inside of edX, if I scroll down here, you can see we have Python and Pandas for data engineering, introduction to generative AI, Rust fundamentals, data engineering with Databricks, generative AI and LLMs on AWS, large language models with Azure, Open LLM Ops, Rust data engineering, Python fundamentals for MLOps, DevOps, DataOps, MLOps, advanced data engineering, scripting with Python and SQL for data engineering. We have applied local large language models, Agile with AI, small language models, Python and Rust, Linux command line tools, use generative AI to automate software development tasks, cloud computing foundations, virtualization, Docker and Kubernetes for data engineering. We have Rust for DevOps. We have Rust for large language models, LLM ops, Linux and Bash for data engineering, cloud virtualization, containers and APIs. We have MLOps platforms like SageMaker, Azure ML, MLOps tools, so MLflow and Hugging Face. We have end-to-end LLMs with Azure, cloud data engineering, introduction to LLM vulnerabilities, beginning Llama file, cloud machine learning engineering and ML apps. We have Azure AI fundamentals, Azure fundamentals. We have web application command line tools for data engineering, authoritative AWS, authoritative GCP, Spark, Hadoop, and Snowflake. So we have huge 40, this is 2 master's degrees worth of content, and they're encapsulated right now into 4 programs. There's actually 2 more launching. There's a cloud computing, which is an 8 course, and there's a data engineering one, which I think is 7 or 8 courses. And so if you look at this, I mean, this is really the equivalent of taking 2 master's degrees at an elite university. And this is what I'm so excited about, is that we're really just getting started with offering a unique thing to students that want to learn and even supplement after they've gotten through a graduate program, or even before they get into a graduate program. We're giving them the tools that they're going to need to be successful in the future. And so that's really the idea here around Pragmatic AI Labs. So if I go again back to the other diagram here, which I think will be a good diagram to share, is that, again, if we think about things as this alternate university, we're taking the best of everything. We're taking the best of the university, the best of the content, best of the industry, and we call this Kaizen for learning. So every day we're trying to improve things. So what we're going to do in the future, in the very near future, is we're going to bring a lot of world-class authors onto the Pragmatic AI Labs universe. And so you'll see more edX programs, more edX courses from these experts. We're also going to invest more in Discord. So we're going to start building that community. And then we're also going to invest in podcasts as well to reach out to people and let them know about this program. And so the other thing that we're going to do in the next couple of years as well is start to slowly convert to a Court B public benefit company. And part of that is for 2 reasons. So one is that while profit is important, it's not the number one goal. The number one goal for what we're doing is to be helpful, right? And so we want to help authors. We want to equally share profit, be transparent, which is very unusual actually in the content business. The publishers typically get 80% to 90% of the profit. We want to equally share it with our authors. We also want there to be a free option for people that are taking our courses. So that's one thing I'm really proud about, is that with edX, everything is able to be accessed for free. So you can audit any of our 2 master's degrees worth of content for free. And if you want to get a certificate and help support Pragmatic AI Labs and help us grow out and build things, you're more than welcome to help us out, but it's an optional feature. So if you believe in the mission for Pragmatic AI Labs, which is to basically help humanity through learning new skills, then I would welcome you to engage with our community. If you're a world-class author, feel free to reach out. But there's some really exciting things happening with Pragmatic AI Labs. And I do think that we can be an alternate university, complementary university to what's existing. Not everybody can attend an elite university. They may not have the time, the resources. They may be in a different location in the world, but that's something that we're going to deliver on in the next couple of years. So thank you for paying attention to my spiel here about the origin story for Pragmatic AI Labs and why we are an alternate university. I hope to hear from you very soon, and good luck.